Welcome to My Bloody Website, the show where we talk all things online for small and medium business owners or executives who still refer to their bloody websites. As a note, you can find all our previous episodes, show notes, and links to all the resources we mention on bloodywebsite.com. I'm one of your co-hosts, Daryl King.
And I'm Edmund Pelgan.
Hello, Edmund. Welcome to episode 17.
I can't believe we're still around. Unbelievable.
You know we're going to be around for a long time yet.
I know, absolutely.
No, that's great. So this week's episode, we are going to bring together a few of the things we've talked about. So if we go back over the last month, we did 3 episodes around content, and we broke that up a little bit with a link building, a practical how-to on how to do some important basic link building for businesses. And this episode, we're coming back to the issue of content and improving how our audience and business website owners and marketing people think about creating content. And, you know, it's a tricky one. And we've talked about why you need content, how content's such an asset to your business, how it's used in attracting people and part of your marketing efforts and reaching out to your audience. We've talked about finding your audience and understanding them. And we've talked about that everything you do when you produce content needs to have a return on investment, an ROI. So we've done all those things. And then we get to this point, Ed, I believe, where a lot of people get paralysis, where they go, oh my gosh, how am I going to handle this? It sounds like so much work. I'm not a writer. God, I couldn't produce a video. I don't want to be in a video. I look horrible. I don't understand. All these people that do it, they mustn't have a job or a full-time job. All of these things that we hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing. We actually live in really good times in the sense that the ability to produce amazing quality content, right? It's now available to the masses. The tools, the systems, and the education as well, right? The knowledge is out there to show people like us, normal business people, how to create awesome quality content that will actually make a difference for the business.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, think about just in my working lifetime, I remember selling brick phones way back. So in New Zealand, and these were the ones that actually had to be set in your car. They were the first mobile phones. And really, all they could do was dial a number and communicate over a massive antenna. And now we have these devices which probably could fly planes or spaceships to the moon. They've got that much computing power in them that we carry around in our pocket. They're GPS, got awesome cameras, video and sound capture. So yeah, you're right. I mean, that's just a device there. And, you know, we have automatic spell checkers and grammar checkers. And, you know, when you're typing content, we have, you're right. We've just amazing. Plus, easily accessible resources, as in people that freelance and offer their services to do it for you. So I think that's what we want to cover today, isn't it? Really, we want to talk about it's not so hard. It really isn't as hard as you think, as long as you're committed to improving what you do.
And that's the key point. Like, we'll go through some ideas of content that they can create that will be valuable to the business. But I think the thing is that you do need a commitment. And I can say, oh, it's super easy. Use your phone and do this and this and this. But the reality is it's still going to take a commitment from you to push, you know, out of your comfort zone and try a few things. But you will be amazed once you get started. It's like anything. It's like that first step, right, of a fitness program. You just got to get started. And I guarantee you, the key thing to remember is this. The first piece of content you produce is going to be crap. The second piece will be less crap. But by the time you get to the 10th piece, it's going to be amazing. And you're going to be 10 steps ahead of your competition in this journey of creating content.
Well, it comes down to, you know, things like an Outliers from Malcolm Gladwell, you know, the whole thing of, you know, 10,000 hours putting stuff in. And it's the same when we go to sport, we do anything. Like when we're sitting here in a podcast talking about stuff we've been doing for 20 years. 20 odd years ago, I mean, no one knew anything about HTML because it was brand new. You know, there were no editors. There wasn't CSS and things like this that we use today. We all used to hand code basic crappy websites and sell them. And we thought they were just magic, right? Well, no one could have imagined back then the type of things you can produce today and how easy it is to do it. You know, tools like WordPress, I mean, like, that haven't been around that long. None of that existed. And it's the same with writing content. Writing a novel is very much the same. You know, they talk about it. You know, the first novel, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you edit it, you will be a better novelist when you write book 5 or 6 because you practice your craft. But I also think it equates really similarly to writing a large novel, is that, you know, there's only one way to do it, and that's to write. You know, and,
that's right.
And the thing with producing blog posts is you can read and listen, you can fantasize about it, you can dread it, but you've just actually got to write a blog post you know, you might surprise yourself.
Push through that fear of being crap and just get it out there, right? I mean, it's amazing. Like I follow a lot of creators on YouTube as a platform, and it's amazing because I'll get to a certain point, there'll be, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers, and then they'll say, hey, why don't you come back with me and let's have a look at my first video? And they are so crappy, but they're learning, right? This is where it all starts. So,
well, look, I think that's a really, you know, one of the things I'd like to maybe touch on this is that there are ways that people approach things that I think sometimes hurt what their real intention is. And, you know, we're not trying to give you some hacks or tactics to, you know, cajole someone into buying something from you. What we're trying to do is to teach you how to do this stuff online better and with the right thought processes and the ways to work through it. And when you're going to produce content, you've got to be committed to saying, I want to help find people that my product or services actually can help. Like I'm not interested in finding the wrong people. And the second part of that is authentic content is part of the world we live in now. You know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was about mass-produced messages that were like propaganda. They were pushed out to you. The mainstream media methods that we had, TV and film and radio, were all about sending out these really slick messages from highly trained people, you know, and productions. But we've moved past that. Social media and other things we interact with in this day and age. And the fact that we all have more knowledge, the internet has given us that. We can read through and see through the guises of, you know, marketing, speak, and all the rest of it. It doesn't mean we don't want to get it and we don't want to buy, but we can also tell when it's inauthentic and when we're being told crap and all the rest of it. So if you are worried about producing crap, stand back and think from the other side. And I've used this phrase before, you know, drinking your own bathwater or whatever, but I also say, you know, thinking from the outside in, your customers or potential customers, they might not think that you're talking crap at all. You might think it's just a load of rubbish. Oh, no one's interested in this. And a colleague, Gavin Heaton, once answered a tweet to me. I said, you know, sometimes it feels really strange. Why write something that's been written before? You know, this post about this topic it was written 5 years ago. And he kind of answered and said, because there's always people that haven't seen that message. There's always people that need to learn it. And stuff moves past us so quickly that your message just, you know, you're not unique. There's very few people that are unique. So you get out there.
But I actually might counter that. I might say that even though you're writing about the same topic, what you do bring that is unique is your own experience and your own perspective and context to the thing that you're writing about. So you might be talking about building a website, but you've got a completely different mindset and experience to someone else, right?
Totally.
That may totally connect with the people you're helping with. And I think the other thing that's really important is to recognize that we're not here. I think people should not. Everyone wants to hit a home run on the first piece of content that they create, and it's not going to happen, right? I think you need to get that out of your system and realize that you've just got to get started, create content, and it'll get better over time. But as you were talking about customers, they'll use this as an opportunity to get to know you. They're not going to. Most people won't buy on the first watch of a video or anything. So stop thinking, I'm going to create a video and I want to sell stuff. And if I didn't sell stuff, it didn't work. It's about putting in the work and building a relationship with people, because you know, you don't buy things just because you've seen a video once or you've seen someone tweet something once.
Well, and that's a really important thing, you know. And, you know, when we talk about pop-ups on websites or weird things that people do on websites. And I've been in a situation where someone said, I want that on my website. And I go, do you like those things? Do you use them? And they go, no, I can't stand them, but I want them on mine. You know, and it's like, you know, I want a security guard to block the doorway of my jewelry shop at the mall, you know, because I feel safer. You know, everyone said you'll be safer, but no one gets in and they're threatened by this massive dude, you know, that's standing there and no one comes in. So you actually get less, you know, and you just wouldn't do that.
No.
I think that's, you've got to understand it from where they're coming from. And you're absolutely right. We don't buy necessarily from the very first instance. In many cases, it takes quite a while. But we talked about that in previous episodes. We talked about the return isn't about necessarily an individual transaction. The return that you're going to get from this content is going to come in all sorts of ways. First of all, you might create deeper connections with the people that are already your clients. Well, that might lead to loyalty, which might lead to more repeat business along the way and less chance of a competitor taking them away. That's a really hard thing to measure. That's really hard to measure. You know, how do I measure that them listening to me and getting a sense and, talking about X, Y, Z, or the challenges in our business would create that connection. But we see that every day. You and I know of individuals online, where they've struggled with businesses and then they've left their business. It's all been broadcast and, really open blog posts or videos and things and commentary about it. And people have a richer, deeper connection with that person. They don't necessarily agree with everything they're saying, but you understand them as humans. And I think we don't buy really a lot of the time, particularly business to business from a business. We're buying from the person that we're interacting with. And if you're transactional, like an e-commerce business, how do you cross that boundary? I talked about persuasive technology, but how do you bring that human element to something that is highly electronic and transactional? Well, through what you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do we go now with this, mate?
Okay. Well, I think that we, don't be afraid. We want to get started. And we've talked about there's a whole heap of different types of content. So you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I've got my business. There's, 5 staff, 10 staff, whatever. We're all flat out. I'm busy, that's fine. What type of stuff then will just get you over that hump? Because we've all got excuses. We all go, it's too hard. And I think we need to understand that we could just rush off and write blog posts. And I think that's the common mistake people do. Yeah. There's 2 things I think people do, right? They do blog posts and they do email newsletters where they just start sending stuff out. And part of me says that's great because you've started, which is like we talked about, right? The other part of me goes, always, you know me, I like to have a little bit of a plan behind me. You say, well, we should have some direction with where we're going. And that was where we were leading before. In the coming up, this episode and the next episode or 2 that we're going to cover, where we're going to get into really, really specific stuff. I think the underlying thing we're going to talk about a little bit here is the formulation of a plan. So we will share with you a Google Sheet, spreadsheet that will have some basic structure to it, and it's really simple. Do whatever you like, but what we want you to do, work with us and start filling in topics and things as we suggest to do it, and not immediately rush out and say, I'm going to write a blog post, because I think the critic gets you there, Ed. I write that blog post and then I do it's crap, because I didn't really think about what I was writing before. I had no real direction. I didn't know, is this for a client or a prospect, or is it for me? What was the goal? So, I don't have anything. So what we're going to talk about in a few minutes is, well, how do I get over that and make sure I do it? And I think we've got some good suggestions. But this sheet gives you a pathway. So, the basics of a structure to put it in. So you don't worry about that. Don't worry about how do I get started. Fill in the blanks. Think about the things we're saying and how they apply to your business as we come across them. And then go through the steps. So over the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we're going to be looking at answering customer questions specifically next week and things like that. But
and later on we'll talk about how, but that's not for today, right?
No, that's right. Well, yeah, and maybe for people coming up, the way that we're going to work through these content segments is, 1, 2 or 3 episodes that really drill around the types of content and try to help you get through those hurdles and just throw ideas back and forth that you can apply. And then we're going to drop into some sort of how-to video. I think the one we've got scheduled coming up in a few weeks is Ed is really great at learning and applying techniques on video production. And with the first one is how you can create really authentic, professional video for your business using a smartphone.
Well, I just know who to follow and who to learn from.
But the thing there is we can all learn lots of stuff. It's about putting it into action, and you put it into action. I've learned heaps from you on those things. So let's go on with that. Let's get moving towards some action with people. Ed, so let's summarize. We know that we want to attract some people. We've identified we've got a couple of different audiences. So we've got an audience, I don't know. Do you have a business in mind? Maybe let's pick a business, some sort of business identity type of business that you could think of that will just talk around what they might do. Like, it could be, I don't know, should we want a lawyer or a coffee shop or a factory? Like, is there something that
let's take let's use the example of the pool guy, the pool filter maker, because that's a really.
So just pool filters, or does he do everything?
Oh, just a pool shop, someone who sells.
Yeah, okay, so pool shop. So we've got a pool shop. All right, so a pool shop includes, they probably go out and service pools and clean them for people if they want. They sell pool filters, they sell chemicals, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. All right.
Now, so they are trying to build a better relationship to their website. And they've probably got some goals that might be to reach further than their local area, so selling products in a wider range. They obviously can't service pools, so maybe that's what they've got, and they've identified some different people. Now, so we want to create a plan for them. We don't want them to just go and write a blog post. So we want them to have a bit of a plan. What would be some things, before we even go to a plan, let's just run through loosely, let's throw them back and forward. What are the types of content that might suit this type of business?
Yeah. So at a very basic level, right? I mean, we talk about all the information on the website being content, right? So if for example, that we're selling all of those robotic pool vacuum cleaners, all that sort of stuff, that's content as well, right?
Yeah. So the product descriptions,
the pic images, all that sort of stuff. So at a very basic level, you've got to have all of that, right?
Can I stop you there? Sorry.
Yeah.
So we're assuming they've probably got that, but we're going to go. They can do a deeper job of that, and we won't talk to the end about it. But that should be on their list to review it, right? They should be looking at it and going, I could possibly do a better job than what the manufacturer gave me those 2 sentences.
Absolutely. And I think as a side note, from an SEO perspective, if you've got a big catalog of products and inventory, don't use the manufacturer's descriptions. It's one of these little SEO mistakes that people do. They just get the manufacturer's descriptions and cut and paste them. Not good for SEO.
I think Jason Munn talked about that when we had it, but we'll probably do an episode on product content down the way as well, because I think that
Absolutely.
and it's a hard one. If you've got 3,000 products, that's cool.
It is tough.
What about? I mean, one of the ones that we talk about quite often ourselves to people is, it starts out with a discussion about frequently asked questions, but I think it's a bit deeper than that. It's kind of answering customer questions, isn't it?
Yeah, here's the thing: like if you run a pool shop, I guarantee you, every time someone comes in, they've got a question. How about this? What about this? I'm thinking of putting this in my pool, etc. So could you imagine all the knowledge, the time that you've spent sharing that information with a customer? Oh, don't buy that saltwater filter because it's no good with these pools, etc. Imagine all of that information if you didn't have to repeat yourself, if it was on the website, whether it was in written, whatever. So there's a ton of frequently asked questions. And I suggest to people, that's where you should start, right? At a very basic level.
That's where we're going to start next week, isn't it? We're going to
absolutely
deep into how to address it. So it's not just simple one sentence answers to questions like a FAQ page. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like people will rush out, we can answer all the questions, but we want to teach you how to do that in more depth, so you get more sustainable results over the longer term.
Yeah, because there's the thing, you can take some of those FAQs, those frequently asked questions, and put them into you see the standard one on a website, FAQ, and it's just one big page with all these short answers. That's not going to add massive value. Yes, it's helpful. It's better than nothing. Don't get me wrong. But some of those questions are actually an opportunity for you to do a better job, a bit more comprehensive, So
another one that would stand out, and I think you hear this quite a bit, is how to fix stuff. So look, I go to YouTube all the time and go, hey, how to fix my doors and windows. And it comes up whenever we talk content. But a lot of people get worried about how to fix content because it'll take away from me doing the work for the customer. The reality is, if someone's going to do it themselves, they're going to do it anyway. And a lot of times, how to fix, maybe they fix the small thing themselves because they can and they want to, but you engender trust with them. You shared that information willingly. When they get a slightly bigger job or when they don't have the time next time, they look you up because they remember how you told them that. Whatever, it might not have been a video, but how to fix stuff. So I think there's a lot a pool shop guy could do about how to fix your pump. Well, maybe not your pump insides, but how to replace your chlorinator, how to fix your vacuum thing,
That's exactly it. I mean, the chlorinator one was an example that I found the local video, watched it, figured out how to do it, but then now I know the brand, right? It's a local pool shop. Next time I need something, I'll go and pop in and see them.
And I guess how to fix really goes to how to use stuff, how to use my funky thing. You gave me this creepy crawly device that's got robotic arms and all the rest, and it goes in. I had to take it out for a party, and now I've got to put it back in, and I've got no idea. So you look it up.
Yeah, but think of the fact that and it's not about just putting it on YouTube and expecting customers from all over the place to find you. Imagine just being able to share that video with your existing customers, so that you don't have to go and do it, right? So it's saving you time and money anyway.
Well, when we do an episode or two on newsletters, people go, they come up with the wrong things possibly in a newsletter. But if you have a regular newsletter go out and you've just produced a piece of content about, did you know how to fix this thing or how to do that thing?
Yeah.
Like in the web, and when we used to have the hosting business, I used to say to the support manager, if you get asked something twice, or if you have to answer something twice, that's something you need to produce content, right? But like, how do I renew my domain name? Or how do I check if it's locked? Or there's so many little things like that you can produce that really from a business service perspective, you don't actually necessarily want to do either, because you might have to do it for free. That might be part of a support arrangement where if the client actually does it themselves, it's actually better for you overall because you save time and money. But,
absolutely.
what are some other things, Ed, that the pool guy might have? Let's say he sells one range of pumps or something. What else could he do?
Oh, look, a great piece of content is always a comparison guide or something like that. So the classic one, I asked you, hey, what pool vacuum cleaner do you use? And you said, I use a Great White Shark. And I said, I was looking at another brand, and you said, well, this is good, and this is why I bought it. That sort of thing is great. If they're in the same price point, why wouldn't you do a product comparison, feature comparison? Even if you know what I mean, even a video from the pool guy saying, you know what, they're both great machines, but I prefer this because it breaks down less. I mean, that has massive value for the customer, right? Great.
Yeah. And you get this from great salespeople in showrooms. And I'm not sure if I've talked about it on this podcast before, but I remember when I bought the last dishwasher for our house. The guy came up to me and he saw I was walking around. I pulled every door thing open. I looked at them. I was moving stuff. I was obviously digging in deep. And we started talking, and he said, look, this one over here is a better price. This one here, I think, is better for value money in the long term. And we had a really lengthy discussion about why. And he showed me, and I said, okay, well, so how does that work on that one? And we did it. And we actually did those comparisons like that. Now, they can be written ones, they can be video, but there's so much that you deliver in the showroom or in the workshop or out on the road that can be translated to electronic forms of content. If you just have to think about that, don't you? So a lot of this is like, it's not that hard. You already have these conversations every time someone rings up and says, why is the Great White Shark so popular? Well, this and that. Well, what about the original Creeper Crawley? Well, how big do you pull? Oh, it's this size. Well, see, they don't work really well once it gets over this size. Oh, I didn't know that. Why is that? Because the suction's not big enough, blah, blah, blah. They can't go up the wall or whatever it might be. So all of that just feeds that out. And having a comparison list of, even if you have 3 different models, like you might sell 3 different brands, compare the 3 because they all suit different people. That's why you stock them.
Exactly right. And the other question I always have when I got this freaking pool out here was, how much chlorine do I, here's winter, right? How much chlorine do I need to put in this? Do I need to change the settings for winter? How do I, you know what I mean? And then,
those are like step-by-step guides or localization guides, right? Like, hey, in January, February, this is the level you need. No one does that. They go, well, we'll come around and sell you on it. Well, how about, I need to know when I should adjust it. Well, after rain, you should immediately do this. And they don't even give you that on paper. They don't, there's no laminated sheet that sticks out where the pool filter is. So you go, that's how I do it.
But what a great upsell. I've basically told the customer here, over the next 12 months, based on the season, this is what you need to do with the pool. Do this, do this, do this. Alternatively, why don't you just pay me $50 a month and I'll come out each month and make sure it's taken care of for you? Why wouldn't I?
But even the flip side of it, right? Because, like I've had both and I've done it myself, and I actually like knowing that I've got it under control. And a lot of the guys that do pool stuff don't necessarily want that. They want to fix the equipment and sell you the gear, but it can actually be quite expensive to have a guy on the road doing all that stuff. But what about, hey, it's just had a massive thunderstorm, we get him here. Do you get a text at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning and go, hey, after the rain, you probably want to make sure that your chlorine level's at point X per litre. Boom, you might need to just top it up with a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, that's great.
And you can automate that stuff. You can do it. This is content. Sending a text is a piece of content, contextually relevant. So it comes back, doesn't it? Who for?
Yeah.
What's the result I'm trying to achieve? Because if I want to get the $50 call out regularly, then there's a limit to how much I'm going to give them before I try to incentivize them to convert. Whereas if I want to just build a relationship and say, he's our trusted partner, we always go to that shop, I might be delivering different levels of content.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. One of the things that, like let's say if you've got an electronic product, say you're a software company or you do things online, you might run courses or things like that. There's things that people can produce like development videos or outlines about how they produce the product or how they go through support, even walkthroughs. We're
talking like a manufactured product or electronic. Doesn't matter, right? Software, it doesn't matter. I think one thing, there's this concept that if you Google Gary Vaynerchuk and document, don't create. That's a whole other discussion another time. But the basic premise is the idea that people go, oh, I need to create all this content, and Gary Vaynerchuk's premise is that if you want to do this at scale and you're struggling with ideas, well, document the life of your business, as it were. So, for example, if you were doing software development or a product development, and people are passionate about that product and they're interested, they want it to succeed because they want to buy it. Things like behind the scenes videos, maybe interviews with some of the development team or the engineer who's working on it, just going through those little things, that's really helpful and insightful content. And it's an opportunity to share who you are and the team is, and to build a sense of connection with it. And at the same time, people are going to see you guys investing in the business and the amount of work that you put into the product. And it engenders a real feeling of trust that you're competent, right? And
it brings a human touch too. The more people that are part of that, the more people that you can see. So I guess, and that spans out to other types of businesses too. Like you can interview your staff, you can interview clients.
Absolutely.
And that might be you see this with book authors on book blogs and stuff. A lot of times, or even on software blogs and things, where it's an email interview. It's not even a video. Like this can be send a bunch of questions over, back and forward, a few answers, and then you compile it into a post. That's
right.
Obviously, video is cool too if you can do it, but you could do a phone call. You could do a Skype call where you just record the audio.
It's so easy. Yeah. And I think one insight that you should take away from this is, because some people will rush out and say, let's go do a client interview. And it'll be like, how did you enjoy using our product? And I think you want to stay away from that. The ideal way to interview a client, right, who is using your stuff, is to make them the hero of the story, right? To talk about how that client has grown their business or done stuff. And your product or your service is a bit player in that movie, right? But you actually promote that client and you talk about how they've grown their business and done all these cool things, and you can share that, and it builds a lot of trust because they're going to share that because it makes them look great as well.
Well, it's cool, and I think that's probably worth an episode in itself about doing those interviews and planning them. But that also comes back to have a plan before you do it, because you can walk into a real problem, right? Yeah. Well, obviously you don't have to broadcast; it's not a live stream, but. There are other things. There's an area a lot of people have warranty and information, things like that.
Absolutely.
And it all gets buried in warranty docs and all the rest of it. You can actually translate stuff about the warranty and bring it out into posts and pieces. Hey, you may not have understood this about the warranty. Just be aware of it. Hey, and people get this feeling like they're not afraid of the warranty. They're saying there is a warranty. We're not hiding from it because we back our product. But
Absolutely.
You don't have to just paste up legalese documents and stuff. You can actually say, Section 3 of our warranty talks about what happens if the device if your pump's broken because of the crawler.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think warranty is really powerful because I've had personal experience from it recently, right? And so rather than, like you said, hiding it in the back and just hoping that no one finds it and making it hard for people to deal with it, that's the point at which you can shine when your product fails, and it's your response to it and how your warranty helps those people. I have a very similar issue with an induction oven that we bought. It was an issue with the crack on the top and one of the induction elements not working. Website was wonderful. It had a really clear section. And what was awesome about it is they took all that legalese in the warranty and they actually broke it down to a frequently asked questions section where it said, what happens if your induction top is cracked?
What do I do next? What are the steps to get it done?
Yeah, made it easy. And then,
rather than bearing, here's the warranty. If you've got a problem, fill in the form.
Here's the PDF.
But there's a whole lot of content that we produce to do that. And you go, that seems logical, but so many sites don't have it. So many people aren't willing to invest the time. It's an
absolutely.
And look, you can even take it to the other way. Like sometimes you can interview, competitors. You can interview prospects that are thinking about it, that have contacted you. Why are you thinking about that? Why are you thinking about that? I mean, and people might find that strange, but you go to a conference, and there are people that actually go about producing content for their blogs or video streams or photo streams of everyone that's at the conference, not just themselves. And they create a rich audience, so people that didn't attend the conference or did come back to them to find information about it.
In our space, it's those people who go to conferences and they'll do live blogging, or they'll write a daily recap, and
or they take all the photos, or
they get shared, and people always say, can I use that photo? And then they link back to them. There's all these SEO benefits of that sort of stuff too.
But it's also, like you're capturing valuable information about that event, and you're archiving it online for posterity for people to find it. So it's adding to that content pool, providing that fits with your goals.
I think there's one other thing too that we should talk about if we're talking online and technology and stuff, is there's some people in businesses that create software, for example. a really popular piece of content that a lot of them miss an opportunity with is things like integration guides, right? I'll give you an example. Is the Xero accounting system is probably the most popular accounting system out there, and a ton of people create third-party products that either piggyback onto it or leverage the data that's in there. And imagine people want to know. They want to know if they want to buy these things, do they integrate with my accounting system? Because no one's going to change their accounting system. So simple guides like that, integration guides that show how your product or service integrates with Xero, that solves the pain, that makes it easy so that people don't have to stress about it, are really valuable pieces of content, because I guarantee you they do search for that. If specifically with Xero, if you look at the keyword research, does X integrate with Xero?
Totally.
Why wouldn't you do it?
Funny side story. I actually was walked past the outside of their home base office in Napier, New Zealand, just a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Little company started over there and it's grown to be massive. But, and they've been very good at telling the story. And I recall trying both them and SAS or Sasu.
Sasu. Yeah, Sasu.
Sasu is an Australian-born one and Xero is a New Zealand-born one, both approaching the same problem, different angles. And I switched from Sasu to Xero and haven't looked back. I don't know the numbers, but you don't hear people talk about the other product the same. You hear everyone talk about Xero. They really won that battle, but they've always been good at product development, but telling their story, getting it out there, sharing it. Very good.
Yep.
Look, if you're in other industries, there's a lot of scientific information or research. It could be in manufacturing, even in engineering, but it could be in health and science topics where there's a lot.
Boring.
I think quite often, there's a lot of, as we call it, pseudoscience about health blogging and things like that. There are a lot of people that put up fitness and health information with no backing to what they say. And then they get away with it. And, if it's a recipe, who cares? If it's tasty, I liked it, I put the stuff on, great. But if you're really trying to build something, and say you want to create distinctive content, by backing up what you're saying, if you're a fitness trainer, you're backing up with stories and research papers and all these other things you've got. Or if you're in, a technical field where you're drawing on them, you might be producing the research papers. But if you're gathering that information and writing a simpler summary of it and why, and sharing that information to your audience, there's a lot of value.
Yeah, I think that what you're talking about is either curating, analyzing, simplifying. You know what I mean? There's so much of that happening in different industries, and that's a real opportunity for you to create content, because you think about what you're doing is you're helping people who may not be as scientifically literate or connected with the same research papers, whatever it is, to understand what's happening and what it means for them. So there's a simple, like you said, that's a really simple way of creating content based on something that's more complex, and building that trust with the customer.
Well, another way you can go from curating like that is to head into sort of like regular updates, weekly, daily updates on your industry or things like that, where you've got a small commentary about it. And I guess that's like the on TV news where the guy from the stock market gets up and says, "These are all the highlights."
It's really popular in financial services. People who trade and stuff will write a daily analysis on what it means and share that on their blog, and people consume that rapidly because.
Well, in sports, around sports, we like regular, so there's that.
Absolutely.
I mean, another one I think, and you kind of touched on a little bit when you talked about the interview with a customer, where you're talking about them being the hero of the story, but quite often your business is the hero of a lot of stories and you achieve results for people. So you can either write them yourself, or you can get the client involved and work with it. But let's really drill down into how our service or product actually helped this person achieve a result. And I think that helps other people go, I talked about Seth Godin says, people like us do things like this or
That's
things
right.
like that. So if I want new accounting software and I'm in a web development business and I now see these great stories and integrations of how all these web development agencies move to Xero, people like me do things like that. Yeah. It's helping me make that decision.
That's right. People like me have the same problems, right? So rather than writing these generic, faffy, over-the-top case studies, which are more, self-aggrandizement, tapping myself on the back, you write about understanding the customer's problem really specifically, and then how your product, how your service help them. So people can see, that's my problem. Oh my gosh, this is how your product solved the problem. Took me to a solution.
Well, and case studies are a great thing. Most industries can do case studies. So there's lots of different ways, and we'll talk about some of those in more detail. Another thing that people forget, and curating is a good one, social media is creating lots of content for you. And you can sometimes curate stuff that's relevant to you.
Yeah.
And a cool thing that often happens really well is unboxing videos. So, I just got my new MacBook Pro, for example, or something like that, and people film it being unboxed, how beautiful it is. I did a little unboxing video with my Seth Godin Love book, the big massive book that I've got over there. It's like this big and it weighs 9 kilos and all the rest of it. And you sort of film taking it out how beautiful the thing is. Now, you hashtag that and they're all up there. Well, you can use these examples of your product. There's all the sentiment people are giving naturally. You're not asking them. And you can find ways to share and interact with that content and bring it back to your asset base, which is your site and your channels. I mean, that's a particular thing. And then the other thing, I guess, is you could, where people talk about stuff or give examples or help provide information, or where you've created a series of things that are useful, you can actually repurpose those into ebooks or productions, slideshows, things that you can create secondary or tertiary levels of content from what you've already created, or ways that are easier to distribute.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we'll probably get into more detail, is just that when you think about creating this stuff, just think about ways that you can repurpose it too, because it's not just for the website. There are other places where you can share this, especially with social now, right? You could take a video, you could turn that into, like you said, you could put video onto YouTube, you could put it onto Instagram, you could put it onto Facebook. You can also turn the text of it into a blog post and put it on your website as well. All these different opportunities.
Well, I think, and that's probably a good thing to wrap it up. What the purpose of this was to say, hey, there's a gazillion ways that you can produce content. And so hopefully people listening go, they've already written down 3 things. Like if you could get 3 things out of that list, we'll teach you ways to produce half a year or a year's worth of content just on answering questions alone.
Yeah, so, yeah, you can't say that I don't know what to produce. We just gave you a massive list.
Bloody oath. Like we have. So, okay, so the rules or the guidelines, don't like rules to be broken.
Guidelines, yes.
Guidelines are, have a plan. We've been trying to set you up to think about what we're doing. In the next episode, when we start talking about answering customer questions in depth, we're actually going to get down to saying a little bit about, well, okay, who for? Who's the question being answered for? Is it existing customers? All of those things. So we want you to think about what you're going to do. We want you to start coming together with plans on things. Now, what I think the homework should this be is get at least 3 of the topics we've talked about. Go back, listen again. Think about 3 different types of things that you feel you could make content on without too much constipation. You're not going to be too stuck on it, right? So, and I'm going to say that I would imagine everyone should at the top of their list have answering customer questions or answering questions.
Easy peasy.
Everyone can do that, because I don't believe there's a business out there that doesn't have questions that need answering. So find 2 more on the list that you like the idea of, and we will put them in the Facebook on the post, put them on the show notes on bloodywebsite.com and the comments at the bottom. Put your thoughts. What are the things that you want to do? Because if the more we see similarities, we'll produce
absolutely
around that.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, I think that's probably a wrap for today.
That's it. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for listening. If you really enjoyed today's episodes and you want to see the notes, get access to the resources we talked about, and get notified when new episodes go live, please visit bloodywebsite.com or subscribe to the podcast at iTunes. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review in iTunes. It really helps people find the podcast. And hopefully, if you enjoyed this episode, we'll see you next week when we'll continue this chat about My Bloody Website. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.